Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. And it's Saturday night, and so you know what that means. We're back with another Star Trek stream. Right now, it's just me, but I didn't want to start too late because that seems to be my pattern lately, even with coffee streams. Um, so I figured while we waited for Skep, Polly, and Hammer that I would just introduce tonight's episode and talk about the plot. And hopefully they'll join us in short order. So tonight it's Dark Frontier, which is season 5, episode 15, and it's kind of a different two-parter because usually the two-parters in Star Trek, except for the finales and the premieres. Uh-oh, I hear an awake Alex. Um, Crap, I just got distracted. Anyway, Pincalo's got it. So this one was filmed as a feature length, as just like the premieres were. So it's just labeled as one episode. And so what it's about is, to summarize it, proximity tremble alert. Hello, Ryan Rawlings. Hello, Rolling Bear. Hello, Fleet Admiral. Voyager and Voyager's crew meets. We start out the episode meeting a Borg cube, I believe. Yes, I think it's a cube. And they engage with this cube and end up transporting a torpedo inside. It was Kim's idea, actually. And they do this to disable the ship, but they end up destroying it because it detonates right next to the power matrix. So they begin a salvage operation of this cube. They get all sorts of things. They're looking for a transwarp coil, and they actually find one. And they, again, Janeway begins, no, they don't have a transwarp coil, I don't think. I can't remember if they get it in this particular salvage operation. No, they don't, because they are going to, they decide to go looking for a transwarp coil that works. And Janeway, again, because this has been a running theme with Janeway in 7 of 9, again urges Seven to read her parents' journals because they were recovered they were assimilated by the Borg, and they were recovered, they were recovered from the half-assimilated ship that they discover in a season 4 episode of Voyager, shortly after Seven joins the crew. That episode's called The Raven. Sorry, guys, it's a little hard to describe this without some assistance here. So they begin battle and reconnaissance drills on the holodeck, bolstered by tidbits of information and strategies that Seven of Nine's parents used to study the Borg without being detected by them. And this is, I have to tell you, just before I continue to summarize the plot, this episode I both really enjoy and really, really have trouble with. And after I summarize the plot, I will tell you why I have trouble with this episode. Hey, Polydub.
Hello.
You're the first one to arrive.
How's that for novelty?
I had to start without you guys.
So, how goes it?
It goes all right. I'm just synopsizing. That's not a word. I'm summarizing the plot for Dark Frontier and explaining why I both really enjoy and really have issues with this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it because it's got lots of action. It's got a good story, but it's also got a really bad story because we find out that Seven of Nine's parents were apparently the first humans to encounter the Borg. But as far as we know, that's not true. Right? Because
it depends on your theory. I was going to say because
Enterprise hadn't been written yet.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your theory of time travel.
That's true.
I hate to be that guy, but it's like...
That's true.
If you count like in a straight chronological order, the first humans to encounter, like, the earliest living humans in the earliest year to encounter the Borg would have been the humans in First Contact on Earth.
Yeah.
Because the Picard and company were from the future, so they're not... Yeah. So it would have even been pre-Enterprise were the first humans, but because the only reason that the Enterprise humans, like Captain Archer and company, encountered them was because they revived those Borg that were under the ice from Star Trek. Help me out here. First Contact.
Oh, really? I did not see, because I haven't seen that episode yet.
Oh, shit. Well, I'll stop talking then. Spoilers. Well, you know what? Interestingly, that I can give you a forward spoiler that they don't actually spoil in the episode. You are sort of left to grasp that. They don't ever say that.
Okay.
And interestingly, I as I've said before, I like the director's commentaries and writer's commentaries. The two writers for that episode do a commentary on the DVD over it. And they make that comment. They're like, we thought everyone was going to get that, but apparently nobody. I think we should have been more obvious when we thought it was going to be too on the nose if we just wrote it right into the script.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of funny, actually.
That is funny. But I really enjoy this episode, despite that kind of writing juggle that you have to do. I find it a very, like, it's obviously, I don't think it, like we keep saying, you know, favorites versus best. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say it's the best one, but I do like it's in my top 5 favorites.
Favorites period, or favorites for two-parters, or favorites for Voyager?
Favorites for two-parters.
Really? Of all of Trek, favorites for two-parters?
No, of Voyager two-parters.
Of Voyager, okay. Yeah, Voyager has to have, I mean, you've been calculating the lists yourself, right? It has to have the most two-parters, no?
I believe it does. I think it does. It has 11.
Holy shit, I would have thought 6, 7, no, 11.
Yeah.
Wow.
It has one more than TNG.
All right, so, and you're counting the premiere and the conclusionary episode as both two-part. Yeah, okay, wow. So there's 9 two-parters other than the intro and outro to the series.
Correct.
Jesus, that's a lot. I would not have guessed that many. That's impressive.
Yeah.
You know, and the two-parters, generally speaking, are larger budgeted shows, right? You can tell by just the scope of them and everything.
Well, and I was mentioning that this two-parter was put together differently than the others, because usually the premiere and finale are filmed, like, are presented as a feature length, but the other two-parters are not. Like, they're two-parters, right? You've got the previously on Star Trek whatever thing at the beginning
right
of the second one, but it's 2 episodes.
Right.
Dark Frontier is not. Dark Frontier is 1 hour and a half episode on the DVD and on Netflix. It's not.
I see.
It's not when you put it on cable.
Gotcha.
But when it's on DVD and on Netflix, it's 1 hour. It's an hour and a half instead of 2 45-minute.
But it becomes, I mean, fair enough. I see what you're saying, but it becomes very clear in watching it that if they wanted to do it as a season finale or whatever, you know, where the cliffhanger is. Like, not just by the time, but by the dun 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 music and the they make it, you know where the break
they
is,
really do. They're very good at that.
See, something about this episode. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was gonna say, you could even tell when it's commercial break time if you're watching it on DVD or something. You're like, oh, and there's the advert time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with older shows, it's like sometimes it's like they could have cut it even a few frames sooner, and like TNG's really apparent for that. Like, good or bad, it's just really noticeable that it's like, and they're down on the surface and we don't know what we're going to do. Dun, dun. And you can just tell Picard's looking off into the distance, wondering what is he going to do. Like, they just, it's that moment of hang time where it's like, yeah, we're going to commercial. We can tell.
But what were you saying about this episode? There's something,
well,
there's something
it's too bad Hammer's not here, because him and I have talked about this for, at length. He's a big fan of the character 7 of 9. I am, I don't know, a little warmer than lukewarm on the character.
Yeah.
It's there isn't distaste for the character. There's just kind of like the sheer amount of focus on the character gets on my nerves. That's the best way to put it.
I can understand that.
And maybe it's because I am like that about the character that certain things stand out to me a lot more. One of the frustrating things for me in watching Voyager from, when does she come in? Season 4?
Yeah.
4? And that's Scorpion, right?
Yeah, the second half of Scorpion.
Second half Scorpion. For like almost from like that, like from that point on, the amount of times you hear the discussion and the conversation between 7 of 9 and somebody else about, you brought me on this ship to help me discover my humanity and my individuality, and I thought I was supposed to discover my individuality. Doctor, is this part of my individuality? It's like, oh God, oh Jesus, like, and I sort of get that from a writer's perspective, that it's like, every episode of a TV show is somebody's first episode that they've ever seen. But it, for me, becomes so incredibly repetitious about the character, especially between Janeway and 7 of 9. That fucking endless conversation that they keep having about, I want you to rediscover your humanity. And it's like, you wanted me to discover but you really wanted to remold me into your version of like, oh God.
Yeah.
So in this episode, it's like, now that conversation isn't between Janeway and 7 of 9. It's between 7 of 9 and the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
We don't want you to lose your individuality. We want you to keep, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like the holy grail of the fucking galaxy is 7 of 9's individuality. It just, and like I said, maybe it's because I'm just not such a huge fan of the character.
I like the Borg, because I'm like, Jesus, you're very, indiscriminate about who you want to be your, like, right, like, first it was Picard, and then it was Data, and then it was 7. It's like, Like, make
Oh,
up
I
your
see your
fucking
point.
mind, dude.
Yeah, no, I see your point. She's kind of promiscuous with her focuses, foci, whatever. Yeah, no, I never thought of that before. That's interesting. Yeah. I I can tell that I've watched too many critical YouTube videos and spent too much time on a university campus where people are reading subtextual stuff into things that isn't there.
Yeah.
Because in rewatching this two-parter, it's like, I know what happened in Dark Frontier when you said last week. That's what we're going to be watching or discussing this week.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I remember it, but I want to rewatch it. So I did. And I'm like, it's a good thing that the Mary Sue hasn't gotten a hold of this episode, because they'd be reading all kind of lesbian subtext between the Borg Queen and Seven of Nine, because the way the actress, I think really cool, the way she chooses to play it, like she's constantly walking in a circle around Seven of Nine and speaking to her in these hushed tones. And it's like, there really isn't any lesbianism there. That's not what it's about. It's just it's the snake charmer aspect.
The psychological, she's mind fucking her.
Right. And it's just like, I've spent too much time on YouTube and too much time around gender studies people, because I'm starting to come up with my criticisms of their criticisms before anyone makes it. And it's like, leave this alone, feminists. It's fine. I like the Borg Queen. I know a lot of people hated the character. They said it went against the way the Borg was supposed to be as this mindless mass entity. But I was like, I get the point. I'm just not passionately against it.
But
do you know what I mean?
Hive needs a queen. Like, I don't understand why people and that's my argument, because I've run into that myself. The Borg Queen. You can't have a Borg Queen that says I and blah blah blah. And I said, well, she varies between I and we, first of all, because she is the central part of the hive mind. She is the queen. There has to be a queen for a hive. You can't have a hive without a queen.
And people often reference inside of like literal bees and queens, it's like who's the slave, the drone or the queen? Because it's like, they all service the queen. Yeah, but the queen can't leave, and she has an extremely specific role where they get to fly free. So it's like who's really doing the service? Do you know what I mean? And it's like that with the Borg Queen. She's stuck in the center of this massive insanity. She's not really in charge of it. She's simply at the center of it. If you know what I mean. And one thing I thought was interesting about her, she does make a reference to, I myself came from species, whatever number. And it's like, much like beehives, it needn't have been her. It could have been anyone. There just needs to be a central nexus.
Yes.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? And I'm like, so that's their nature, to be a mass consciousness that has a nexus center. And if she's destroyed, it's not like they're over with. There would probably, I assume, be another one. You see what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know. That works inside of my head with canon. I don't seem to have a problem with that. It
works inside of my head with canon too. It totally does. It's like, I've never had a problem with that. And people always, I've had arguments with people. And they're like, no, there can only be one Borg Queen. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
They would be like Hugh's cube after they were separated, like just in disarray, not knowing even remember when Hugh said in that TNG episode, like we weren't even able to set a course, or we weren't even able to navigate because they couldn't agree on what direction to go, because there was no centralization of this. And it's, what's causing to all talk together when they say we are the Voyager? It's like, well, it's all there's a CPU, that's why. Like the kind of thing. I don't know, it works for me. I'm fine with it. And I don't know, have you ever seen or heard, I guess, Terminator Salvation?
No.
There's a similar idea in that Skynet, which is the big computer, is trying to destroy humanity, right? That Skynet and Terminator Salvation kind of takes on a Borg Queen thing, in the sense that it starts talking with a unified voice. And people really objected to that. It's like, that is so stupid. I would argue that I would agree with that argument for Skynet. The whole point of Skynet is that it has no feelings at all. It has no desires. It's not trying to, like the Borg's trying to get better
Yes.
It's trying to achieve perfection by accumulating stuff and resources and stuff. Skynet is just operating on very basic programming. I have to continue to exist, therefore you die. Like it's
very, very simple.
Yeah. And that's the bad part of Skynet. It's extreme cold machine logic. You know what I mean? Where the Borg are the embodiment of evil, if you know what I mean. Destruction for the sake of destruction, a horde of locusts, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What did you think about Janeway? So did I get it right? I got it right? Their whole point was to find a working trans warp coil.
Yeah, and the only one they found was fused.
Yeah, the one they found in the Borg cube they accidentally blew up. I love how Harry feels bad.
Okay, you know what? They all felt bad except for Janeway. Chakotay turns around. I thought we were just supposed to disable it. You know, if I was Harry, I would have shot back. Oh, you feel bad for the Borg, do you? Like, what the fuck? I mean, they're here to assimilate us all and turn our lives into a centuries-long nightmare as they continually regenerate our flesh. Like,
Janeway's like, fuck that. I feel lucky. I'm gonna go take their shit.
Because Harry kind of timidly responds, you know, like, what was the, Harry gets the idea we're going to beam a torpedo on board. Like, you don't see that scene, of course, right? No. But it's like, it gets the idea. So let me see if I get this straight. The order was transport it somewhere that's not crucial. Like, was that the actual order? No, fucking blow them up. Like,
that's what you only get one shot before they adapt.
Yeah, and
put it somewhere. You have an X-drone.
It's and
it wasn't tell you.
It wasn't actually a cube. It was one of them torpedo cased like Tylenol pill shaped tactical vessels.
Okay.
And they're like 1/10 the size of a cube. That was, to me, it's like that was the consider yourself goddamn lucky that that's what you ran into. Because Janeway responds like, you've scanned our vessel, you know we can match your firepower. They certainly can't match the firepower of a cube, but like this smaller tactical vessel, that's why Janeway said that. It's like, you know, okay, fuck you. If it was an army of spheres and cubes we were against, we might be running, but fuck you guys in your little Tylenol pod, you know. Again, I don't get the idea of why they're worried. Like Janeway's absolutely right. They were lucky to have encountered that. They were lucky to have gotten the torpedo on board during the shield fluctuation, and they were lucky to have fucking blown it up. Shut up, Chakotay.
She's like, nice work, Ensign. Harry's like, oh, I blew up the drones.
I did start us out, and I love Janeway. She's so like practicalist about the whole thing. She's like, start a salvage operation. And Chakotay's like, Captain? It's like, dude, have you not had your coffee today? Like, you don't really seem to be bringing your A game to the bridge here. Yeah, let's see what we can use. My God, they're assimilating everything we got. Why not?
I love the salvage scene because I love Doc and the medical, the arm with the medical stuff. It's like, yes! I've been wanting one of these. It's like, really?
Doesn't he yell out Eureka?
He does.
See, happy Doctor always makes me laugh because he's not supposed to be a happy guy. It's great. The Captain, put that down. What is it? I don't know, but it was crawling around on the floor a few minutes ago.
It's 7 of 9. It's like, I can't remember what she says it is, but she's so calm about it. She's like, don't, just, it's fine. It's just.
You know, it's when I think about just talking about Chakotay, one thing occurred to me now. It's like, it was a good thing that they gave Riker in TNG the characteristic of being the best pilot on board, right? But they didn't continue with it. Like a little background lore of him. You know what I mean? Of somehow being like, it came up when he was talking to Captain Jellicoe.
Yes.
Right. You're coming to, you know, even, and Geordi is aware of this because he's the one who even recommends him.
Yeah. Geordi's like, I can do it.
You know, but if you want the best, it's like, it just so happens to be the guy that you just relieved of duty.
Yeah.
And it is referenced before, and there's the episode where in Booby Trap, where they're gonna have the ship piloting them ahead out of the field of acetone assimilators. I'm such a terrible nerd, I apologize, but that's what they were called.
I was just about to say the same thing. If you didn't get it, I was about to be like, acetone assimilators.
Oh God. Okay, I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I somehow remember that. Anyway, Riker jumps up and says, okay, I'll do my pre-flight once I'm on board the shuttle. And Picard's like, no, Will, not this time. I'm going to go do it. Like, I'm going to take the responsibility, sort of thing. And I get that. What is Chakotay's skill or characteristic or whatever the fuck's supposed to be?
I don't know, because he's not even a good, like you would expect a leader or a commander of Maquis to be you know, rough and tumble type of guy. But there's an episode in season 1. It's the finale of season 1. The learning curve episode.
I know, right? I was hoping this is that I know the exact scene you're talking about. Go ahead.
It's fucking pathetic. He grabs Buddy by the fucking collar and he punches him once.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's out of breath. And I'm like, okay, seriously?
Well, okay. You didn't like that scene?
Oh, I did, but it made me laugh because it's like you've only been back, if you really think about it, in comfort, because technically, if you think about the old Maquis ship he was on versus Voyager, you're going from, you know, rags to riches, basically, even if you are stuck in the Delta Quadrant.
Right.
So you've only been in relative comfort for like a few months, and you can't tell me, we know there are workout facilities there because there's that security officer that keeps showing up in sickbay hurt and whining about, you know, why does that hologram have to talk to me? I don't like him. Like, we know there are workout facilities, so
and you see him boxing in later episodes, right?
Boxing.
Yeah.
So why is he so like, and why, like, I get the soft-spoken Native American thing, but you've become a first officer. Like, you can't be all like, what was it that B'Elanna said that he said to her when she reprogrammed Dreadnought? You hurt me. Like, is that really something a command officer should say? Like, even if you are in a rebel group, right? You don't tell your subordinates, "Oh, you've deeply wounded me by disobeying." Like, I understand why he did it. Right. Do you know what I mean? I understand why, but you can't carry that over into a Starfleet setting. I don't think.
You can't carry it over into a Starfleet setting, but like at the time of Dreadnought, B'Elanna was telling the story that they were still in the Maquis.
Maquis, yeah. And
he kind of took the responsibility for her launching it.
He did, yeah.
Like the Dreadnought vessel / mass destructive device. And he said, the exact word he says, "You've disappointed me."
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I get what you mean, but I think it was like he took it as like a personal betrayal is not. I love the episode in Learning Curve, or that scene in Learning Curve where it's like there's the Maquis way of doing it, the Starfleet way of doing it. And he looks at me and says, "Oh, you want to do it the Maquis way?" And he's like, "That's right. All right.
Okay, fine."
Right. Punches him the fuck out. And that was the one moment in the entire series where I saw him get Maquis with something. And that doesn't mean that I wanted him punching motherfuckers out all over the ship. It's just, it would have like, wait a minute, you're a boxer, you're a tough guy, he is a commanding sort of dude. Like that's the kind of guy that would end up in a leadership position amongst a bunch of rebels. It makes sense. I see why you casted him. Okay, got it. But you don't have him play that.
No.
Like they don't write for that, I mean to say. Like there should have been some moments.
They write the Native American trope more than they write the
Right. They do. You know, it's like maybe write some anger issues for the guy, because I can totally see somebody in the Maquis having anger issues, like B'Elanna, for example. Like they certainly wrote it up with her. She seemed like
they had an opportunity to write the anger issues, and like you see glimpses of it in the episode of Tattoo, where where you have flashbacks of him arguing with his father.
Yes, indeed, good call. Yeah, that was a horrible episode. Don't remind me.
It was lost potential with Chakotay.
Oh, it was insanely lost potential. Like that is the number one critique, and I think it's absolutely right, that I've heard all over the place when it comes to Voyager. It's two crews coming together, and you didn't do jack shit with it. All of a sudden, they were the get along gang out of nowhere.
Yeah, and
it's how I except for that one outstanding standout episode, Worst Case Scenario,
which was not even an actual thing that happened. It was a freaking a holo simulation.
Yeah. It was a training scenario. They thought it was a holo novel, but it was actually a training scenario written by Tuvok. It was great. It was, holy shit, that episode was pure Trek. It was Rashomon-esque. You know the film Rashomon, like the same scene played over and over again from different people's perspectives.
Yeah.
It was like a reverse Rashomon. It was fantastic. That theme will never get old, doing Rashomon. I mean, it's been used so many times. They even use it in TNG, where the Riker was accused of blowing up the science station for the Krieger waves. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, no, I was a perfect professional." And they're like, "No, you were a rapist." And it's like, what do you mean? Like it was, and you got to see the scene played out. That theme just never gets old. It's such a great technique.
So what did you think of the way they portrayed the Hanson? What do you think of, first of all, what do you think of Seven of Nine's parents? Good or bad researchers? Or should I say intelligent or stupid and blindly lucky researchers?
They
should perhaps be a better way of wording that question.
It's, you know what, when people sit back and say, you know what, both, like, you know what, I feel like these were assholes. These people weren't good researchers. They even say it in universe, where it's like, it's your parents' fault. They shouldn't have brought their young daughter along, but what were they going to do? Leave her behind? Like, they were all of those things. They were, I think the characters were written as they're adventure seekers and explorers, but really adventure seekers. You know what I mean? That are willing to push the edge. They're obviously comorbid in they're enabling each other.
Yes.
You know, in a huge fucking way, because it's not like one of them was saying we got to turn back. They were clearly both down to keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were negligent parents. Yes, absolutely. And they were scientifically curious in a huge way. Sure. They were all of those things. And when I hear people arguing, like on message boards and on the talk pages at Memory Alpha and stuff, it's like, well, we can't call them good scientists because they really weren't good scientists, because would good scientists have blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all I'm hearing is that you were drawn in by the characters, people. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's, Can you say that they were written terribly? I would argue no.
No.
Because look at all the emotion that these characters have brought out of you, because you're actually angry at them.
Yes.
You
exactly.
see what
They did a very good job of writing them. I will say that. Like, and you even see like and they write the other characters to help you feel that emotion. Like Doc, when they're on the Delta Flyer go in the second half and they're going to get Seven.
Yeah.
And Doc has continued reading, because in the first half we see the flashbacks as Seven is reading the diaries. Because Janeway has finally gotten her, like, basically ordered her to read them. What do you think of that order, by the way? Do you think Janeway has, like, do you think she basically has well, she's the captain. She has the right to order you to do whatever she wants.
True.
But, do you think she was pushing it too much? Or, like, because she even says, maybe I shouldn't have made you read them.
I don't think she was pushing it too much. I think okay. My actual answer is I think 7 of 9 should have been part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see how many files there were there?
Yeah.
Like, this is the future where you can fit giga uber quads of data on one single pad, and Neelix is bringing in boxes of pads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, what I wouldn't give for a treasure trove like this, he says at one point, because it's another box he's bringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. 7 of 9's a Borg. She could probably read at hyperspeed or whatever the fuck, like that one time where she like attached the ship's data to her node and conspiracy theory, remember? And she started going nuts because of it. So she could probably read some super speed kind of way, but like realistically, it would be an entire fucking posse that would be going through those files, honestly. Yes. And you hadn't cracked them until now? Was my second question.
Well, because she even it's mentioned before, and she's like, no, I want to read them. I'm just not ready to read them. Mm-hmm. And I think Janeway even says, maybe I'll have B'Elanna and some other people look at them. And she's like, no, they're mine.
And so, you know what? It's like, yes, it's your family, but it's also like, these are the first people to study the Borg up close. And, you know, you're a Borg. What don't you understand about tactical necessity? We are a lone ship lost amongst.
I think Janeway should have. That was when Janeway was trying to be mom instead of captain.
Right. For the sake of the story.
Yeah.
I like it, and I like the kind of personal place of pressure, I guess, that it puts 7 of 9 in. For the story, it works, but realistically, it would have been an entire posse going, like team in engineering, reading through these things. And because they're both scientists, it's Magnus and Magnus,
and I can never remember her mother's name.
Yeah, I remember his name because it's so weird. Oh, come on. You know,
Magnus.
I'm just jumping ahead. They turned him into a Borg. I was just, Daddy? I thought, oh God, you know, it's
come on.
I guess it works sort of, but I don't know. I just, whatever. I don't know. That didn't really need to happen.
No.
We can all be here as one big family. And it's like, my God. I guess maybe that's just my personal taste. Maybe for a lot of people that would have struck them as like, not a twist, but like
the ultimate, an ow.
Yeah, like the ultimate topping of the nightmare. You know what I mean? And the worst kind of turnaround, that this guy was the moth that flew so close to the flame, like that, like he got burned in the worst possible way. Oh, you want to study the Borg? Okay, well now you are one. Maybe a lot of people would have seen that as, to me, it just struck me as a bridge too far, like in writing. Like it's
I thought it was interesting because she was trying to get 7 of 9 to be too sad to resist, right? And just be like, oh, I want to be with my daddy. But instead, Seven's like, you murdered my family, you bitch, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, and then the subterfuge of helping the the few, or trying to help the few assimilated, or the few unassimilated species that she was for, like that the queen was like, you got to go assimilate these people.
Right.
So that was a little, like, I like those little resistance things. Because I like
resistance things.
Yes, the resistance. Even though resistance was supposedly futile,
right?
She was still resisting.
Oh, I see what you're getting. Yes, I see what you mean. Okay.
And I like the creepy part for, like, there were a few creepy parts in this two-parter, and one of them was in the first half when Seven is regenerating, and she's having that dream, and for like at first it's you don't know it's a dream, and like you think, oh, she's just talking to Naomi, and then what's it like to be a Borg? Does it hurt? Like, just the same thing, because she asked that, and it's in the file, right? It's in the pad. And then you just switch to the queen, and it's like, whoa. Just, there were a few psychological tricks in this episode. Like, and Trek can be really good at that.
It can, and it every time Naomi Wildman comes up, I gotta say the same thing about Scarlett Palmer's. One of the few child actors that didn't annoy the ever-loving shit out of me every moment they spoke. And some people don't like. I mean, child actors have that reputation of being really obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Scarlett Palmer's. I remember watching her in interviews as, like, you know, grown-up lady now, and she's like, I got the role because I could say all those lines and have them make sense. I could just remember my lines. That's why I got the role. And she even like spit out like Treknobabble and everything else. And she goes, I don't know, I could just remember it. And it's like, okay, well, I think you're giving yourself too little credit. You're able to say them in a way where you actually sound like a kid talking. You don't sound like somebody, like a kid reading lines.
No, she sounded like, you know, I'm actually going to be a captain's assistant when I grow up, and I'm
the way a precocious kid would be, you know.
Yeah, I need to study all of these manuals, and oh look, there's an ex-Borg on board. She can help me. Hey, can I hang out with you? Like,
and the way that she won't like stop, like just the way a little kid will be. It's like, I like you. I'm gonna hang around you, and it's like they can't tell that they're annoying the adult. And
first time 7 of 9 addresses her, it's great. Naomi Wildman, subunit of Samantha, of Ensign Samantha Wildman.
Subunit, yeah.
State your presence here.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. That I mean, I can't think of another instance of any movie or television show where I don't think, oh God, this is the one with the kid in it, I'm not watching this episode. I never think that with Naomi Wildman. She's just part of the series, and it's like, good for you, Scarlett Palmer. So like, you know.
Exactly. Because you get even with freaking TNG, there are some episodes that you're just like, oh God, Wesley, fuck.
Yeah,
like
good
the
point.
The game. I hate that episode.
Well, you know what?
I hate it.
I've got a soft spot for the episode, because that's where if Hammer were here, he'd jump on in a minute.
Robin Leffler, right?
Yeah, Ensign Robin Leffler, that played by,
I can't remember her name either.
When she was okay, Hammer and I think she's really, really hot. That's what it comes down to. So we got a soft spot for that episode because it's got her in it, and she's in a Starfleet uniform. We're Trek nerds, so it's like, yeah, hot woman in a Starfleet uniform, yay! Like,
yeah, exactly.
And that was before she went crazy, because now she's an insane Trump-hating leftist. But anyway,
that's most of the Trek people now, unfortunately.
Like, well, yeah. Did
I've
you
had
hear?
to unfollow like all of them except for Shatner.
I was just going to say, except for the Shat Man. He's the only
Patrick Stewart.
Because if it was going to be anybody, of course it's Shatner. You know?
Yep. He's such a troll. He's brilliant.
But George Takei, like he's got to be the worst of the whole bunch, man.
Man.
the burgers at the White House thing. He called it a national disgrace. Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm sorry. If I was a high school football player and I got to the White House, I'd be like, oh man, I gotta be all fancy and shit. Ooh, Burger King, McDonald's. Sweet.
Not only has everybody except for Ponzi people in media pointed that out, the football players themselves, when asked, said, we thought it was great. We loved it. Yeah. And it's like, why wouldn't you? Anyway, yeah. It's
Fleet Admiral says, shut up, Wesley.
Yeah. So yeah, we've spread into the real world off of Trump.
Yes. And this is like, of course, we get to see the Delta Flyer in action before, but you really get to see the Delta Flyer in action this time. And I love the Delta Flyer. I may be blind and I can't see all the cool shit it does, but I love the Delta Flyer. I want a Delta Flyer.
You know what's interesting about when the Delta Flyer comes up, I think back to the episode where they built it, Extreme Risk.
Yes.
Which is one of those little favorite episodes of mine.
I love it too.
Yeah. I love the idea of B'Elanna in a self-harming downward spiral.
Yeah.
Because it's rare that you get into mental illness in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you really
did a good job of it, I think.
Well, they did the best job of it with O'Brien and the suicide episode. That was that's too deep. It's too deep, man. I don't. Yeah. It just that final scene between Bashir and O'Brien when he's got the phaser. No. That's yeah. That's when Deep Space Nine crossed.
Voyager did it with Neelix too.
They did,
and they did a very good job of it. Actually, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I don't like watching that episode either. There's episodes where I've seen them, and cool, I know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Don't need to revisit it. It's just too deep to keep watching it again. You know what I mean?
I can't not watch the end without crying when Naomi's like, "Did a monster get you?" And he's like, "Yes, he did, but I chased him away." And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. When he's oh god, it's too deep. Like it goes into religion and his belief in the afterlife and etc. He watches a recreation of his own death on the holodeck. And Seven of Nine's cold answers to, what do you mean I reanimated you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and just that, oh God, like it was just,
this isn't living. Like, what do you mean this isn't living? You're alive. You know? Like,
right. And it's, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to berate what Star Trek has become in the STD JJ verse era. If they had attempted an episode like that, they would have given you the answer, they would have told you what's up, and they would have spoon-fed it to you between action explosion scenes.
Yep.
There would have been no depth, no like what's we were talking about last week. It's the point of great sci-fi, especially great Star Trek, is they put all this stuff out in front of you and raise all these questions and raise all these tensions, and people inside the episode might find an answer, but it's not supposed to be fulfilling. It's supposed to be thought-provoking, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, where it's you watch STD and they're like, hey, diversity's the answer, man. These are the good guys. These are the bad guys. Like everything's so straightforward. You're not thinking like you've seen it once, you've seen it enough.
Yeah.
Yet, and even once was too much.
And then Pinkalo sent me an article today that says some actress from Star Trek Discovery is so pleased that they're sticking so closely to canon, and I nearly threw my phone across the room. I was so angry. I was like, in what universe are you sticking to canon?
Yeah, for me, it's not even like how. I mean, if you think about like the red letter media critiques of it, where they do review and they talk about it, So many, like, yes, they talk about how they deviate from canon and the Klingons don't look like that. They mention it, but they spend the vast majority of their time talking about the general feel and vibe and what's going on and the types of stories they're telling.
Yeah.
Change everything, change the uniforms, change the shit, change all kinds of shit. But when you change the vibe and the point of it, you're no longer doing the same thing.
No, you're not.
That's the deviation that's upsetting everybody. You know what I mean? Like, the characters in the Kelvin universe are named Kirk and Spock and so on, but they're not, it's not within the same thing. And it's like, yeah, but it's all the same characters and they're on the Enterprise. Why aren't you fucking happy? Because it's not Star Trek. Why not? Because it's not science fiction. It's not thought-provoking. It's not cerebral. It's not interesting. There's no character-driven story. There's no tension except for we might get blown up.
I want to put Measure of a Man in front of them and go, when you can make an episode like that, you come talk to me.
Mm-hmm. Fleet Admiral says Star Trek was about what was happening in the world and debate it, right? And it's like, there's the one that seems the most obvious, and I know I referenced it last week, but it's the best possible example of what's the name of the episode in TOS where they go one side black, one side white? What's the?
Oh, damn it! I can't remember the name of the episode, but I know exactly the one. It's the.
They're both from the planet Charon, and they're white and black on the. It seems on the surface so obvious what they're doing, and they of course they hate each other because they're black and white on the right and left side respectively differently. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, we hate you because you're right side black, not like us and we're left side black. And it's, they're making a commentary about race relations. Yes, they are, but watch the episode and see if they don't go deeper than that. And oh my God, they do, because neither one of them is presented as the good guy.
No, they're not.
Even though one is the oppressed and one is the oppressor, seemingly they're both causing the situation to happen in tandem.
And Kirk and them are like, what why? just why? What are you doing?
They're baffled by it, and they leave them to it at the end of the episode. They don't even.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's just and that's sort of, that reminded me. That's what the end of the episode. Let that be your last battlefield is the name of the episode. Or let that be your final battlefield, I think.
No, I think you're right the first time. Let that be your last battlefield.
Yeah. Okay. They all killed everybody. They're the only two that are left. That's fucking great. Like, it's so far gone. And that's it's like, and debate it, right? Because you could, if you would watch that episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, you could take either side in a debate and say, I'm with the oppressor guy. He's right. Those the left side black people are the ones who are constantly claiming something's wrong when they're the ones who are destroying everything. They're the ones who don't want to get along in society. They're the ones that are constantly rioting. They don't accept any of the positive things that have been done for them. They're always asking for more, and never want to do for themselves. And you could argue from the other side, yeah, right. Isn't that what the oppressor says? They want to keep us under their thumb, never give us full rights. And it's like, but we gave you full rights, not full rights. Like, there's, of course, it's never ending. You know, it's neither of them's wrong.
TNG did a couple of episodes like that too. They did Symbiosis. The
drug addict planet.
Picard's like, give me my parts back. You're fine. Or the prisoner moon.
Oh yeah.
Where at the end, Picard's like, well, you guys better either give them what they want or you're screwed, because they're going to kill you.
And quite literally leaves them to it. You don't know what's going to happen. And it's like, those guys might be good soldiers, but they force them onto the prison planet, the prison moon to begin with. They might be able to force them back. The point is, it's not really resolved at the end. It's just like, here's a whole bunch of shit. You know what I mean? Like, and let's examine it, if you know what I mean. Possibly one of my favorite, and I think one of the deepest, most controversial episodes in TNG is the I can never remember the name of the episodes when I want to. They go to a planet, and when they get there, there's a small rebel continent that's fighting for independence. Their leader is named Finn. They all have Well, I was about to say they all have a streak of gray skunk hair, but you wouldn't know that.
Oh,
but anyway,
I know exactly. It's the one just before the prison planet one. Or
yeah, they kidnap Dr. Crusher because
Yeah.
the transporter that they're using is causing them
I can never remember
damage.
the name of that episode either.
But it's classic analysis of when is a freedom fighter a terrorist and when is a terrorist a freedom fighter. What's the difference? Finn actually compares himself to George Washington.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant.
Beverly gets very, very upset.
Yeah, and they have the argument full out and don't resolve it. She goes, Washington was a military general. The difference between generals and terrorists is the difference between winners and losers. And I'm like, oh my God. That was fucking great.
And they even have those arguments in Dark Frontier, like to circle back to that. The Borg, and the Queen, and Seven of Nine are like, they argue about, like what their argument about humanity is almost the same as an argument about, like, because she's like, it's wrong basically saying what you're doing is wrong. Right, Seven is saying you can't take people's freedom away, and she's like, but how? But I'm giving them something better, aren't I? Right, like I'm giving them peace. I'm giving them organized chaos. I'm giving them. I'm giving them. They will never die. They will never grow old. They will. You know what I mean? And Seven's like, but they're not free. And it's a very interesting, and it's an unresolved argument. It's they don't resolve the argument. Basically, they never do. They, like, anyone that argues with Borg Queen, like her and Data, never resolve the argument. You never see an argument with her with the you see Picard say, I will resist you with my last ounce of strength, right? Resistance is futile. Strength is irrelevant. Like it's an unsolved argument. And that's kind of what I like about Dark Frontier. And that's why I like the episode. I like the tension because that they're going to get Seven back. You just don't know how many, like the way that they wrote this episode, you're like, are they gonna do it in 2, or is it gonna take more than 2? Because we've seen them stretch things out more than 2 episodes. Like the Hirogen, right? So when I first watched that episode when I was younger, I was like, is this gonna be done in 2 episodes, or are they gonna be chasing Seven of Nine around the Delta Quadrant for a while? But I kind of liked the tension of that, and I liked, speaking of Scarlet Palmers, I liked that Naomi comes to Captain Janeway with a rescue plan.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Janeway doesn't and what I like about Janeway, say what you will about Janeway, but she doesn't tell her to just yes, dear. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like she's actually like, well, I've got a plan too. Here, see, let me show you. Look what I'm doing. And like that's the mark of a good captain, I think. Like regardless of whether it's a child that's doing that or like, do you know what I mean? Like, but that was just for story wise, that was just adorable. You have a plan? I have a plan too. Look, see?
Okay. Ooh.
What's up?
I just Scarlet Palmer's is single.
Oh my, maybe you should
She grew up to be hot. I don't know if you knew that, but she's she did. She's hot. She's a hot redheaded lady. And you know what kills me? I said that before, and Hammer said, she's a child. I'm like, dude, she kept growing. I'm not talking about like what, how old was she? Like 11? I don't even, 8? I don't know. I'm bad at guessing.
Young.
Young. Okay. It's like, I remember when he said that, we were talking in Discord and I said, she's hot. He's like, dude, she's a kid. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the adult she grew into, man. She did they didn't put her in stasis. Like she kept growing, man. She's fucking 30 now. Okay.
Battle or body snatchers.
just saying. Okay, as some little side trivia, I don't know if you spend a lot of time on Memory Alpha. I do, and I'm an editor on Memory Alpha, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, it's no big thing to be. Anybody can. It's how active you are that what it really comes down to, if you know what I mean. And if you keep making changes that are, and there's editors and super editors, permission, statuses, whatever, where the people that are extremely dedicated and have been for years now have admin powers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to see all of the work they put into this online encyclopedia fucked up. Mm-mm. So it's like, good. It's good that there's online admins like that. So if you go, you can be an editor and you can vandalize pages, but your shit's going to get reversed almost immediately, I've managed to get an okay status because the only changes I ever make are textual. Like you just said this in a confusing way. You could have shortened your grammar here. Let's take this one long sentence and break it into two so it's more readable, and take this 1 5-line sentence and break it into that kind of shit. Right. Anyway, I looked up hamburger because we were talking about Donald Trump and burgers, and I wanted to relate them somehow, because things like, believe it or not, Memory Alpha works that way. If you type in hamburger, you will find every time that somebody referenced a hamburger in Star Trek. Believe it or not, this is interesting. It comes up a whole bunch in Enterprise, which makes a lot of sense because earlier time, right? So they're going to be more talking about cheeseburgers and fries.
Enterprise has a chef.
And it quite literally has a chef. There you go. Yeah. Other than Enterprise and the episode and the series that is not Star Trek, STD, and it really frustrates me that they reference STD now on Memory Alpha. And yes, it's technically canon because CBS Paramount says so. This is a fan-run website. Yeah, I think that all references to STD should have an asterisk beside them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And we'll call it because Kelvin timeline references have a specific reference to them. Keep in mind, this is Kelvin timeline. Yeah. Why can't we have something like that? Keep in mind, this is fuckery timeline. Whatever. Whatever the hell. Because how's it in the same continuity if the Klingons look completely different? Because there's a continuity explanation as to why the Klingons have ridged foreheads and then don't. Have you gotten to that yet in Enterprise?
No.
Oh, so good. Anyway, they actually explain that in a totally plausible way that works in universe, and they connect it to another awesome piece of lore. It's great. And they didn't even need to, because it's I
saw the DS9 episode where Worf's like, we don't talk about it.
Right, we don't. And they managed to make that make sense. Why wouldn't Worf want? He says, we don't discuss with outsiders. Why? They fit that in. Why would there be this giant embarrassment for all Klingons to talk about this thing that caused you to have ridges, then not have ridges, then suddenly have ridges again? What the fuck? And they managed to explain it in Enterprise in a 2-part episode. It's great. Anyway, there's only one time outside of STD and Enterprise that a hamburger is mentioned, and it's in Voyager.
I can't remember the episode, but I know that he's talking about, because Neelix is he calls it comfort food. Isn't that refreshing?
It's really, because I have no memory of this. What is the episode Fury?
I think it might be the episode where
pull up the episode here.
Tuvok gets hit with that neurogenic weapon and loses his memory.
Oh no! No, this is the episode where
the wrong one.
This is the one where Kes comes back on board after a long time, and she's like an old woman,
and she's all crazy, and she thinks that they tried to kill her. And
That's the episode. That's Fury. But this is the entry, and it's actually hilarious. In 2371, Neelix concocted his own style of open-faced cheeseburger. Tom Paris suggested that he should give it an original name, suggesting the double talaxine with cheese or the greasy Neelix.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The greasy Neelix.
I have no memory of that. That's a great name, though. The greasy Neelix.
I love Tom. Tom is one of my favorite Voyager characters, honestly. I really like Tom.
Mm-hmm. And in my headcanon, it's he is what's his name? He is Wesley Crusher's friend from the Academy.
Yep.
What's his name?
Nicholas
Locarno. Yeah.
Same actor. Yeah.
Oh, it totally is. And if you read the production notes again on Memory Alpha, they wanted a Locarno like character, somebody who had been, kicked out of Starfleet, was like, basically everything that Tom Paris is.
Was he kicked out or did he graduate? I think he graduated.
For Tom Paris, that's a great question.
I'm pretty sure Tom actually graduated, but he left, or like he got kicked. He didn't get kicked out of Starfleet Academy. I know that. I'm pretty sure he finished Starfleet Academy.
I remember his line where he says, "I went looking for a fight and found one with the Maquis, and then got captured on my first assignment." But I don't remember if. I'm just reading through his page on. Tom's first love was the sea. That was a great episode. Where they went to the ocean planet.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Upon graduating from the Academy, Paris was assigned to the USS Exeter. His career in Starfleet was short-lived, however, and it ended after he was involved in covering up his own pilot error, which led to the death of 3 fellow crew officers.
That's it.
Of 3 fellow crew officers at Caddock Prime. Despite later telling the truth, he was discharged from Starfleet following the incident. Yeah. See, he once remarked that the ghosts of those 3 dead officers come to me in the middle of the night and taught me the true meaning of Christmas when he finally confessed in Voyager Caretaker. Right. Yeah. That was a smart ass answer.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see what I mean? The writers wanted a Tom Paris-like character, a Nicholas Locarno-like character. Yeah. And then they eventually why don't we just have Nicholas Locarno? You know why they didn't? Because they didn't want to have to pay the writer of that episode who technically created that character. They would have to pay him him or her, whatever, a licensing fee for having created that character every time they use Tom Paris.
Well, and then how would you explain Nicholas Locarno? Because he got expelled. So how the hell would you have explained him, unless
they just let's say that the licensing wasn't a matter of it. They just would have went they just wanted Nicholas Locarno, and it would have been like, well, okay, so he got kicked out. So what did he do after getting kicked out? He went to join the Maquis. You see, and that's basically what they want. It's like, so we want this Tom Paris, we want a Nicholas Locarno clone, basically. Well, what story are we going to give him? Well, he graduated from the Academy, but then very quickly caused the death of 3 crewmen. There we go, done.
Yeah.
And they even wrote it into Caretaker, the very first episode. So
I wouldn't be friends with me, Harry, if I were you.
And very interestingly, the picture of when Admiral Paris is sitting at his desk in the Pathfinder episode, and Barclay is making the plea to Admiral Paris. It's like, but if we try this thing that I want to try, this harebrained scheme that I got, you might be able to talk to the crew, talk to Tom, your son. And Admiral Paris looks down at the picture on his desk of Tom. That's a picture of Nicholas Locarno from the episode.
Really?
It's a picture from First Duty. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he's wearing the cadet's uniform and he's sitting at the desk and you can tell he's younger. Yeah. It's just they just took that picture from the First Duty episode. And it's so in my mind, like I said, so in my headcanon, it is the same guy. Because it's supposed to be. So I just kind of connect them. You know what I mean? It's
I do.
Tom Paris knows Wesley. And had a conversation with Captain Picard. Okay, we've really moved away from.
So what did you overall, what did you think of Dark Frontier? Do you like it, or is it one of those episodes that you're like, meh? Because I know you don't like. I know you're not a huge 7 of 9 fan. So
it's not that I'm against her in any way. I have no animus towards the character. I'm just not. It's just I know a lot of people that are really big fans of her. Right. I just kind of come out. She's better than Ensign Kim, but she's definitely not my favorite character. Like, I don't know, my favorite character on Voyager, probably the Doctor is my favorite over and over again, pound for pound, most entertaining guy on the series.
Yeah.
He's probably because he's the best actor. Like, you know, I know a lot of people don't like Janeway. I like her a lot. And Tuvok.
I like Tuvok too.
As a character, I really dig Tuvok. It's, he fills Nimoy's shoes quite well, meaning the well of super strong emotions that are barely kept under the surface. He plays that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's whereas what's his name who plays Spock in the JJ Verse films?
Quinto.
Zachary Quinto does not play that, in my opinion. He just comes across as he's an angry dick. He's an ill-tempered dick.
He really is. Yeah, he's an ill-tempered dick, and I don't get the thing with him and Uhura. I never did, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Hold on. Sorry, I just came back to the wasn't the hamburger the Tom Paris TV gift from the B'Elanna episode? The TV gift.
Oh, she gave him a black and white TV with
remember with all the
cartoons and stuff.
Oh yeah, right, cartoons. Weren't they eating popcorn?
They were having popcorn. She replicated popcorn and butter, and pork rinds.
And pork rinds, really?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
I just remembered that, pork rinds.
Oh, see, it's
and I think she got him soda too. I think she got him like a Coke or something like that.
Yeah, Tuvok was in a Star Trek movie earlier. Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. I think, was it Voyage Home? No.
Let me think. I mean, he was in a TNG episode also.
Yes, he was. He was in the episode where Picard has to pretend to be Mott.
Yeah, exactly. Starship Mine.
That's it.
Yeah, he's one of the gangsters on the ship trying to steal the trilithium resin. God, I'm a nerd. Okay, so I wish I could remember stuff like that on command, like just things I need to remember. It's just anyway.
But I think, I'd say Dark Frontier. Sorry.
I'm sorry. You said, did I like it overall? I did like it overall in a big way because I like background and lore and texture to characters, and it gave a lot of texture to 7 of 9. I like when Star Trek, the universe, is given a sense of history, and there's a big sense of history of like there were humans out there and they went out there and did this thing, like the whole. I like the way they handled the flashbacks and stuff. So overall, yes, I definitely did like it as a 2-parter. It really works. It's definitely, in my opinion, one of the better 7 of 9 centric episodes, even though there's a fuck ton of them. Like, oh my God, there's a lot of 7 of 9 centric episodes. I get it. She's a fan favorite character. She's just not near the top of the list for me. So I bitch. Yeah. but overall, I really dug it because it gave her character a lot of texture, had a lot of great action, tactical fun. They're planning a heist, Yeah,
so I liked all the holodeck scenes, the heist scenes, and like Janeway getting all, angry when they're on the holodeck, Those
Fleet Admiral says Tuvok was in Spaceballs. He was in Spaceballs? Really? That's great. I didn't
sure was. Every time I watch it, I'm like, hey, there's Tuvok. But I for me, I enjoyed everything about it, because as I get over the writing about the parents and they're being the first humans to contact the Borg.
Right.
If because I can get around that. I think that they sort of juggle their way around that okay.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, it's a really good, solid couple of episodes, with, like you said, some really good action. Like I said before, you get to see the Delta Flyer really, well, kind of get the shit kicked out of it at the end.
Right.
Paris is like, my ship. What did
Yeah.
you do to my ship, dude? Because there's even a joke in a later episode when Janeway takes the flyer out again, and Paris is like, Captain, could you please bring it back in one piece this time?
Yeah. Yeah. With the from the aspect of like I've heard some people complain that it's like, no, the first humans to encounter the Borg were these people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a problem. It's like, and why wouldn't they known of it? I think that the writers did a fine job, and it's a pretty simple explanation. It was two people out on a ship, and then they got captured, and they never communicated nor transmitted any of their findings to Starfleet because they weren't supposed to be out there in the first place. There, problem solved.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knew that they had encountered the Borg but them, like the three of them.
Yeah.
There did happen to be some human beings who encountered the Borg first. Oh well, like that's it. That part doesn't bother me as much as it does some people.
Well, guys, it's almost time for Minions of the Zoo, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. We sure missed Hammer and Skep. I don't know what happened. They said they would be here, but maybe something happened. So if you guys aren't busy, go check Minions of the Zoo out. They start at 11:30. Thanks, Polydub, for coming out. I had fun. Next week is mine and Pinkalo's anniversary on the Saturday. So we're gonna do Equinox the week after.
Sure.
But I'm really excited to talk about Equinox.
Yeah, no kidding. Great two-parter.
Great episode.
Yeah.
So be sure to tune in for that. And remember, tomorrow night is The Blind and the Special at 10 p.m. Eastern. And thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next time.
Have a good night, everyone.